Hello, everybody, and welcome into Thursday Night Theory here with Zilla Fantasy Elite. I am your host, Todd Hoffman. We're going to go into Thursday Night Football here, Miami at Buffalo, looking at this game in terms of the adjusted line play report. So, first thing we're going to look at in this Island game, Vegas game total of 49.5. We always say anything near 50 or above 50 is very good for the week. 49.5, right up there at 50. So this is a very high total. In general, when we see a total that high, we think, hey, there's going to be a lot of offensive scoring in this particular game, or at least Vegas is expecting a lot of scoring in this game. Typically, points are scored by the offense. So in this, we expect a lot of points scored. So take that into consideration when you're playing your island games. The higher the score, the more likely you are to use skill players, the less likely you are to get a defense or a kicker involved in those scenarios. Keep that in mind. Next thing we look at, the Vegas line, minus 12. That means Buffalo, 12-point home favorites here. Their team implied total now is 30.75, so they're expected to score a ton of points. Miami down at 18.75, expected not to score very many points. 18.75, pretty low in general. 30.75, very, very high in general. Now we've got all of our numbers, including pace of play and our time spent leading, the time of possession, all good to go now heading into week 3 here. So first thing we look at, we always look at the away offense. And the very first thing we look at is the pass attack on the away offense. So Miami, they are 30th in offensive pass protection. Buffalo 32nd, dead last in defensive pass rush. This is an adjusted sack rate, so it does take into account down distance situation, things like that. If you get a sack and it's 2nd and 2, that's very unlikely versus a sack when it's like 3rd and 18. You're more likely to get a sack in that scenario. Both are good results, but one is going to count for significantly more in this adjusted sack rate, which is in here. So Miami 30, very bad there, taking lots of sacks, especially perhaps when you wouldn't expect it. Buffalo 32nd. If they are getting sacks, they're in situations where you would expect it. So this is actually indicative that Miami might have a little bit more time than they're used to throw, which is good for them. That means their offense might be a little bit better in this scenario. We get into the pass DVOA, 31st for Miami, second to the worst. Buffalo actually 32nd in defensive pass DVOA still through the first 2 weeks, despite the Jets not doing anything passing last week. So keep that into consideration. These numbers are a little bit more volatile in the first couple of weeks here, and then they stabilize right about week 5, week 6. Going into there, but right now this is indicative, hey, Miami struggling on offense, moving the ball. Pass game hasn't been that good. This is signaling might have a little bit of additional time, even though they're really bad in that pass DVOA. Buffalo also on defense is bad in the pass DVOA. Miami may be able to move the ball a little bit better through the air on this than they have in the first 2 weeks. Getting into the run side, that one's a little bit interesting here. So Miami 19th in offensive run blocking, Buffalo number 5 in stopping the run. These values are essentially how often is the offense or defensive line creating negative plays in the run game. The worse your number is for run blocking, the worse your offensive line is. The lower the defensive run stopping number, so top 5 here for Buffalo, the better they are at creating negative plays and stopping that running back from gaining more than about 5 yards or more than about 4 yards on any given run. So this is telling me, hey, 19 versus 5, Buffalo should dominate in that regard. I'd expect Devon Achane, who's really been taking most of the carries for Miami through the first 2 weeks, I'd expect him to have a lot of 4 yards and under attempts in this particular matchup based off of what we see here. But then getting into the run DVOA, 15 versus 31st for Buffalo. The DVOAs are always compared to historical averages. So taking into account the situation, what is the typical outcome of a run play in that scenario? Buffalo actually 31st in that, suggesting that they're not very good on a play-to-play basis compared to what you'd expect. So if it's third and 1 and they're running it up the gut, a typical outcome might be 2 yards. Buffalo might be giving up 3 or 4 or 5 in those scenarios. Hey, it's third and 8 or second and 8 and they do a run play. Typical play for that is 4 yards. Buffalo's giving up 5 or 6. Miami, middle of the pack there, nothing to write home about. But while Miami might not gain a ton of yards, 4 or more, or have a lot of behind the line of scrimmage tackles, they might end up having, on a play-by-play basis for their scenarios, a little bit more success against that Buffalo defense. So that's how that works. Now we switch it off to the Buffalo offense. We look at that pass rush. Buffalo top 10 in pass protection, not taking a lot of sacks. Miami number 18 in the pass rush. Slight favor there for Buffalo. They should have some time to throw the ball here, or at least they shouldn't be taking a lot of sacks in this game. Then the pass DVOA, Buffalo middle of the pack at 15. Miami, though, in the red, which is bad, so they're 25th. This is in the favor of Buffalo's offense, indicative, hey, they should have some time to throw against this Miami team, and when they do throw, they should be very successful in those attempts. So Buffalo pass game looks good here. Then getting into the run game, Buffalo number 3 in offensive run blocking, Miami 20th in stopping the run. So I'd expect Buffalo, when they do run the ball, I would expect a lot of 4 to 5 yard carries, bare minimum there for Buffalo when they do run it. But the run DVOA 13 versus 27, there might not be a ton of explosive plays there for Mr. James Cook, even though this 27, we've been seeing James Cook be very good in the offensive run game. That 27 is indicative that the scenarios in which Buffalo is being successful are scenarios perhaps where that is an expected outcome. So keep that in mind. And an interesting one here where both run games are a little bit flip-flopped. Buffalo should be gaining, some decent middle of the pack yardage on each run, but Miami struggling in that department. But then the explosive plays may be going in the favor of Miami's run offense and not in the favor of Buffalo's run offense. So if I'm breaking this down into an island game matchup, I'm actually pretty interested. Josh Allen should have a pretty solid path to passing success here. Given this Vegas line, the amount of points that are being scored in this Vegas line, I'd expect Buffalo to score quite a few points here. Could be one of those where you load up on the Buffalo players. This is always an island game, so if you get in one of those rare players, hey, we think the backup tight end in this scenario where the backup running back is going to get some run in this, they're going to get 8 to 10 carries and score a touchdown in this. Maybe those are the key to unlocking that number 1 lineup for your things here. For your island game matchups. Buffalo, 4 if not 5 players from them. Grab somebody from Miami, 1 or 2. Depending on that, but I'd be grabbing a bunch of Buffalo players, getting one of those one-offs, either a backup running back, or Buffalo does like to spread the ball around on offense, so their wide receivers, take your pick in terms of who you think is going to be low rostered, but they all do get involved in the pass game over there, so keep that in mind. I think that's how I'd attack it in an island game matchup. Now, another thing that we do look into is pace of play. Some of these numbers are blank. Why is that? Well, Miami actually has never been leading on offense. So they have 0 numbers in here for what their pace of play is when leading. And obviously, they have never been leading by 8+ either. So there's no number there. But looking at their overall, this is opposing offense pace of play when Miami is leading by 8+. There's no numbers there. Overall pace of play, though, offensive neutral situation pace of play is 16th, so middle of the pack. Overall pace of play for Miami, 14. Offensive pace of play, though, when the score is within 7 points, is 2nd overall, so pretty quick there for Miami. Offensive neutral situation pace of play, though, 16th. That does take out the last 2 minutes of the game. And then that's probably where Miami's getting very quick and getting up in this realm there. And then Buffalo on offense, 17th in overall pace of play. When the situation is neutral, they're very fast, number 3. When the game is close, they're number 8. But then when they're leading, they do have 31st ranked offensive pace of play. Keep in mind, there's only about half the teams, I want to say a little over half the teams that have actually been leading so far this season. So of those that have had a lead, Buffalo is the second worst. And then when you're offensive pace of play, when trailing by 8+, Buffalo has been doing that. They're one of the slower ones when trailing. I wouldn't expect this in this game. I'd expect them to be leading. And I think this is when they're leading by 8 or more. So keep that in mind. They do slow down their pace when they are playing with a significant lead, which does indicate, based off the Vegas line, that that's going to be the case in this game. So there we have it. That is the adjusted line play report here for you guys in week 3, Thursday night football, Miami into Buffalo. Based off of what I am seeing on here, I would expect, Buffalo pass game to be decent, run game to be on a play-by-play basis, not stop behind the line of scrimmage, but also maybe not super explosive based off of this. And then I would expect Miami's offense maybe to be a little bit better than they have been through the first 2 weeks here. Pass game may have some time to throw and be successful when doing that, or at least at a better rate than they were the first 2 weeks of the season here, based on the adjusted line play report. Thanks for watching, everybody. Go out there, place those bets, win some money on those island games, and give me a holler if you win some money. Bye.